King, Mike in the Night, and the Gemini crew. Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Let's just talk about the world, give this page another turn, 'cause you're here with us tonight. Everything's alright when you're here with Mike in the night. Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Giving the world light when you're here with Mike in the night. Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Sometimes things are just absurd, so let's just talk about the world, 'cause you're here with us tonight. Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Let's just talk about the world. Give this page a little curl, 'cause you're here with us tonight. I bid you all good morning, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be watching this transmission, or wherever you may be receiving this transmission. You are tuned into a very special, unlisted edition of Mike in the Night. The date is the 6th of August. Wow, is it the 6th of August? It is the 6th of August, 2020. Whether you're watching us in your box in the sky, cabin in the woods, or detached, semi-detached home, or your bug out area in the woods, you are tuned into Mike in the Night. Extend that lazy boy chair, stretch out those legs, crack open a window, let in some fresh air, crack open a bottle of bubbly water, because it's time for Mike in the Night. So we got a lot of people here in the comments already rolling in. The unscheduled episode of Mike in the Night. So we got Jupiter says April. Yeah, it's April. Did I give it another month? Oh, it's April. You know, you're watching this from the future. No, it's April 6th. Yeah, I've been in quarantine, not quarantine, but self-isolated, and just thought, I'd come on, just do a video for you guys. And, yeah. So who's in the comments here? We got M. Howden. We got Jupiter, Jesse Flores, Andrew INFJ. Woo! Mike in the Night. Good day from Australia. Yes, it is day there in Australia. It is still night here. It is still Monday night. Yeah. What is happening with you guys? Come on and hit up the comment section. Got a little bit of few news articles here to hit up with you guys. Yeah, that's okay. We're all going nuts. So, I've been digging up a lot of news articles, publications, advertisements. Really hard to find 1918 information. And I've been finding some really interesting stuff. This whole quarantine thing that they did 102 years ago, they're doing the exact same thing they did 102 years ago. I found more clippings. I found more work from that time. It's a really tough time to kind of dig up research on, because it's just a time where, people were keeping records. But after I found this article, I was very enticed to find more. This is a publication from the Corporation of the City of Kelowna. That's an hour and a half east of me. And it states, public notice. Notice is hereby given that in order to prevent the spread of the Spanish influenza, all schools, public and private, churches, theaters, moving picture halls, pool rooms, and other places of amusement and lodge meetings are to be closed until further notice. All public gatherings consisting of 10 or more are prohibited in Kelowna, BC, 19th of October, 1918. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because I found more stuff about this, not just in Kelowna, but all over the world. And they did everything to fix this problem. So this is not a new thing. Oh, they're doing this. There's people saying, oh, they're doing this so they can install 5G. They'll install 5G regardless if there's a virus or not. If they're going to install 5G, they're not going to ask you for permission to install 5G, okay? Do we want it? No. Do I think it's healthy, or I think it might be dangerous. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But what I do know is if they wanted to install 5G, they don't need a virus front to install 5G. Bring down the economy? Yes. This is a perfect front to bring down the economy. But I honestly think, reading the articles I've been reading the last 6-7 hours, I've been realizing that a lot of things were shut down. Everything was shut down in 1918 to stop the spread of the Spanish influenza. So we got... wow, the comments are moving too fast here. We got... Yes, it's live. We are live. Richa is saying they did it with the plague too. Well, see, the plague was more around the Dark Ages, right? Are you talking about the bubonic plague? That was during the Dark Ages. That was just after the Dark... Well, it was the Dark Ages, right? That's when that was the bubonic plague. That's when, like, 1 out of 2 people in England died, or one of 3. No, 1 in 2 people would die from it. There was bodies everywhere, right? Damn slacker in the house, low roller scratcher. Thank God low roller scratcher's here. So I really wanted to put this up there. I wanted to, and I've been finding more and more about this. I found other notices, like with people like drinking out of a glass saying, stay home, indoors, and like type of thing. All kinds of articles. This is not an old thing. Keeping people inside, lockdown is not. And you know how long this lockdown went for? In some cases, it went for 10 to 22 weeks. The lockdown of 1918 during the Spanish influenza. It was everywhere. You can't stop the wind. Plus, you got planes. You got planes that could travel. People could travel on a plane and get to places so quick in a heartbeat nowadays, and it makes it even more dangerous. And it doesn't help the fact that Canada does not want to close its borders and does not want to stop flights in from China. Oh, you're talking about the plague of 1800? Yep. Donaire saying, I think we are at war, in my opinion. Yeah, we're definitely something's happening. We're in a war for our minds. We're in a war for we can't criticize things anymore. If we criticize something or ask questions about something, you're a criminal. It's like, or you're a racist. It's terrible. There's a war on our psyches. We're beginning to slowly start self-censoring ourselves. Lower Roller Scratcher asked me, Mike Martins, you heard the tiger got coronavirus? Yes, I did. Thank you. Kevin Tavares, what are you doing up so early in the morning? Adam Hammond said Zionists are taking over everything, consolidating their grip on power. Trump and Kushner working alongside them. Trump was selected to be in power. Pseudoscientist says forever. Then Little Roller Scratches, yeah, the Tiger. And Richa is saying in the 1800s, maybe the 1860s. There was just a lot of these outbreaks, but this is a hard outbreak. This is a hard one. You get in a lifetime, you get 2 soft outbreaks in your lifetime. If you could live to 65, 70. In your lifetime, you'll have 2 soft outbreaks in the world, like 2 soft ones, like SARS or something soft. But then you'll have 1 in your life that's big, like this one that we're having now, that a lot of people are still doubting today. They're doubting, okay, I honestly think, okay, I was watching David Icke the other day, but I honestly think he's on the right track, kind of, trying to figure things out. I honestly think they don't know what they're dealing with still. They don't know what to test for, and they understand why people are dying. I'm not doubting that. They understand how people are dying. I don't think they know what they're testing for. I don't think they know what they're looking for. You know, in my opinion, they're testing for influenza B. And if you get back a positive, then you will be tested positive for whatever this is called. COVID-19, coronavirus. Next week it's going to be called Covioister virus. Whatever they want to call it, right? Yes, we're still doing a countdown. We are on day 1. Tomorrow, in an hour, we will be in the last day of the countdown for it to start going nuts in Canada. It's just warming up here in the West. Or, well, not the West, but the northwestern hemisphere is warming up. Mexico, they're not even testing anyone. They don't even care. Mexico isn't testing anybody. I think they tested like 1,000 people. They don't care. You know, I was talking to a friend that works in a mine in Mexico, and he was telling me that they don't care. I had a friend call me from Louisiana who works in a hospital, in one of the bigger hospitals in Louisiana, and he's telling me they have no more beds. Now, let me tell you why they're making a big deal of this. Let me tell you why the West, America, Canada, is making a big deal of this. Do you honestly, wholeheartedly think it's because of what's happening in Spain, France, and Italy? Do you think America's scared? No. No way. I'll tell you what America's scared of. I believe in my heart of hearts that there's somebody that knows realistically how many people died of this in China. Realistically, the real numbers. And guess what happened? The Americans got wind of that intelligence or information. And that's why America's acting. Canada too. Canada's going to kind of follow what America does. And Australia kind of doesn't want to go with it. Australia has another intelligence behind this, or some sort of a way of getting information. I think Australia has their way of getting their information, and I think they're like very badly misinformed. But the United States of America, I honestly think they actually know what happened in China. There's somebody in that country, in the U.S., that knows what happened in China, how many people died, what the outcome is, how much more are expected to die in China, how many times is it going to reinfect, is this going to mutate, and how far is it going to go? That's what's happening. And that's why America is on this like crazy, trying to figure something out, because this could really do a number on the common man, herd population. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's go to Andrew. Being an island is handy. Australia? No, but you're stuck. You got nowhere to run, right? Pseudoscientist says if many died in China and we may never know. Wait, there's someone that does know, and eventually everything comes to the surface, right? It was a backfire on the vaccine, not properly vented, or they are genociding intellectual dissidents. Yeah, but then you start taking away the people that actually productive. And once you get rid of productive people, you lose the war, you lose the economic war, right? Because you can't produce. Adam Hamanda saying waves of infection. Oh, it's just started. Nijo Poppy saying I think they already did it in Switzerland. Anastasia. Then Automaz Asteroid saying hello and tell everyone to hit the like button. Hit the like button. Share this live. There's a lot of people like that are awake right now playing video games or doing other stuff. They could tune into the show. Lower Scratcher. The state of Georgia is opening a beach again. Ooh. Richa is saying De Silva, is China still lying now? China's always going to lie. China will never tell us what it is. Someone says plenty of space. Not everyone lives in the city. When doesn't China lie? Someone's asking. So back to this. This public notice has been around, right? October 1918. I'll show you some of the articles from that time. I found all kinds of neat stuff. Here's another public notice. Oh my God, they took it off my Facebook, my YouTube channel. So here's another one. October 7, 1918. First death from Spanish flu. Grip here. Where is this? Oh, Saskatoon, Canada. Spanish influenza epidemic closes schools, churches, and theaters. Health commissioner issues, where's this? Illinois. Health commissioner issues proclamation ordering drastic methods to check disease spread. Drugstore swamped with flu victims. North End puts new punch into war bond drive. See, they're closing down streets, creating checkpoints. Guys, this is not new. Public places are ordered to close. Germany's reply handed to Swiss Minister of Kaiser's allies won't quit. The war's still going on. So there's an article here about explaining the influence of flag. This is the Douglas Enterprise. Germany, 40 cases of flu in town. This is Wyoming. 40 cases of flu in town. Germany accepts U.S. terms of peace. New road. End of the German Empire. There's lots of them. Influenza takes toll on 5 Hodokian. Mother and daughter and man and 2 children victims of death of the plague. So, there's other YouTube channels saying that people die of something, and then they would basically say that people dying now in Italy are saying that, oh, it's COVID-19. But they have other underlying issues, right? Right. But then when you have something like this, when an entire family dies in a house, then you know. And I've heard these stories from my great-grandmother when I was 8, 9, 10 years old in Portugal. She would tell me that it was so bad that after the whole flu passed and everybody, it got out and it did its rounds, they would go into homes where they wouldn't see people for a while, and they'd find entire families dead in the homes. And this was nothing. This was in Portugal, right? And this was around 1917, 1918. So here's more. Look, public notice. Spanish influenza. The health board of the city of Halifax, in order to prevent the spread of the epidemic disease commonly known as the Spanish influenza, has determined under the authority conferred upon it by the Halifax City Charter that the Public Health Act, that all churches, theaters, and moving picture shows, colleges and schools, both public and private, and other places where people assemble or congregate shall be closed from this date until further notice. So there it is. This is from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Here's a sign here. All theaters closed until further notice. A request of the mayor. And back in the day when theaters closed like that, a couple of months ago by, they just reopened, blah, blah, blah. Why? Because the theater, back in the day, like a movie theater, a moving picture show, they own their buildings. They just bought their buildings. They didn't rent. Back in the day, I have a business, you got to buy a building. Most of the time. Unless you're like a private investigator, you want to rent a little office somewhere, and that's different. But back at the turn of the century, a lot of places just own their buildings. Oh, okay, I'll close, shut the lights off, shut everything down. No problem, I'll be back in a few months, right? Now, everyone's so heavily indebted that they can't afford to close for 2 days. Okay, Jesse Flores. Boris didn't believe in, what was it, social distancing? Nope. He's in the hospital. We're going to cover that in a second. The entire planet need a world lockdown. It will stop the virus. Says Low Roller Scratcher. Spark Drive is saying, INFJ, so an inmate object is copying and, what? So intimidate object is copying and changing itself. Jesse Flores says, that's the consequence. Reach is saying, what's the world reaction if Boris isn't happy, doesn't have it's a happy ending? It's gonna screw people's heads up. Sad to hear, Boris. Did you see the Tom Barnett video? No. Does Boris already have around 10 kids? Wow, great, almost red moon visible tonight. No cloud either. Reach is saying, Big Rob, where are you? And Metal Gear Mark III is joining us on this late night of Mike in the Night. So there it is. There is all the Spanish influenza. Same thing. Wear a mask. Look. They even tell you how to make a mask. Look. There's even instructions. How to make a mask. Take a piece of ordinary chest cloth, 8 by 16 inches. Fold it and make 8 by 8 inches. Next fold, make it 8 by 4 inches. Tie the cords and 10 inches. So it even tells you how to make a mask for the Spanish influenza and everything. This is how you prevent it. So this is not old news, guys. What's happening now? Everything shut down. Everything notices, all businesses closed down. Public notices closed down. Moving picture halls closed down. Everything is closed down to stop the spread of the virus. And this was a big deal. And this is the images we're seeing today. We're seeing this today all over the place. Why? Oh, how to dodge a flu. Let's find out from 100 years ago. How to dodge flu. Keep feet and clothing dry. Avoid crowds. Protect your nose and mouth in the presence of sneezers. Gargle your throat 3 times a day with a mild antiseptic, if only salt and water. Don't neglect a cold. Keep as much as possible in the sunshine, and don't get scared. Sorry, it's SEAR, scared, yeah. So, this is all the stuff we have from the Spanish flu. This is the same thing that we're having today. This is the same thing that's, do you think they knew how to test for this back in the day? No! Today, do you honestly think they know what they're testing or what they're looking for? They have no idea what they're dealing with. That's what I've been saying since the last week of December. I've been saying the same thing like a broken record. They don't know what they're dealing with. Are these people dying? Of course they are. Do we know how these people are dying? We sure do. We understand how they're dying via autopsies, CAT scans, body scans, X-rays. We know what's going on, but we don't know what we're dealing with. We don't know We think we do, right? Tignim saying, I was listening to Asmar to try and fall asleep. I messaged you on Patreon, by the way. Richa saying the Spanish flu was a vaccine. You see the coronavirus old image again. So there it is, guys. Lots of propaganda and all that. Close. So let's take out 1918. Oops. And yeah, let's take out, sorry, the month. See, latest Calgary infections. Spanish influenza epidemic is serious. This is by the Hamilton Spectator. I'm sorry. October 5th, 1918. Physician and 4 others died in a few hours. Doctor and health board will confer tonight. I like how they used to spell tonight with T-O-night. Tonight. Influenza epidemic closes schools, churches, and theaters. Spanish flu, many deaths. Oh, this is the Venos. Venos cough cure. Lightning cough cure. Whoa. See? People are out to make money. Even back in the day, they're out to make money no matter what. Everything closed. Everything shut down because of the Spanish influenza. These people went through a lot. Anyways, guys, quick channel plug, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you can. Subscribe, share this video, get it out there. We usually do some good stuff on here. We got a good community that follows. Everybody knows each other in the comments, which is really nice. They get to know each other. There it is, guys. Set your reminder for trends in the housing market on Wednesday, and set your reminder for Mike in the Night. Save a prayer for me this Saturday night. And don't forget to support me on Patreon. Links on top of here. Please support me on Patreon. Buy me $1 a month buys me a coffee. If you want to buy me a coffee, don't forget to buy a mug. And I'm getting a lot of messages here. We got people messaging me all over here. You could hit me up on Instagram, guys, or on Facebook. Here I am on Facebook. You could message me on Facebook if you need to for show tips. Here's my Facebook. It does connect to my Instagram if you want to message me here too. Go ahead and message me here. Shoot me a tip on PayPal. All right, guys. It's Mike in the Night. Colkey saying, I think we're going to see a whopping price inflation. Yeah. And then saying nothing is getting picked. M. Howden saying just wait for the new taxes. Yeah, they're going to bring in the new tax to pay down all this relief money that they're throwing out there, right? That's a huge problem. They brought in taxes to pay back debt, that's deficits, to pay down deficits and wars and stuff, and then now we're going to be paying more. Oh, we got Randall Alexander in the comments. I can't believe Lower Scratches here, man. All right, let's go into here real quick, the numbers. So we're at 1.348 million according to the John Hopkins numbers. Let me refresh this and make sure this thing's up to date. At 1.348 million. U.S. leading the pack. Iran's going to pass China. Everybody's going to pass China. This whole damn map is going to pass China, and that's the scary part. So what are we going to do when over X amount of people die? Then what? Oh, well, okay, the flu doesn't kill this many people, but then you have a lot less people confirmed than the flu. Because if in flu season, you get several million people infected by the flu at any given time. And yeah, you get these huge numbers per year. But when you have confirmed 1.3 million and you got 50,000 dead, 74,000 dead, this is not looking good right now. But to each their own, right? Let's go to our chart here. Oh, they removed China? They used to have this, and they used to have China on this thing. Come on, guys, you can't remove China. China was on this graph, and it was down here. It was here, and then it went this way, went down, when the rest of the world is blowing up. You can't do that. You just can't. You don't have permission. You don't have permission to remove China. Let's see if it's in this. Nope. Daily increases. Nope. These are daily increases here. So you're seeing some sort of a downtick, but that's tested. Tested. Do you think in 1918, when they had the Spanish influenza, that they actually, even if they had test kits for it, do you think they're going to test everybody in the world? And then Kolke is saying, eventually the disease does its rounds and immunity is built up. Yeah, that's exactly what you have to do. You have to find immunity to this stuff. What can we look forward to? Increased GST, goodbye retirement at 65, retirement schemes. The list goes on. Atomized Asteroid saying, Mike Martins, let me know if I can call. I have an update on the financial information and the sickness. Sure. Atomized Asteroid. Let me see if I can find him here. Yeah, I'll call you in 2 seconds, okay? Let me go over this here. So there it is there. So these are actually pretty big numbers. So 1.3 million people, 1.348 million, and 74,000 died. And only 284,000 have recovered. You still have, with the numbers here, you still have 1 million people that are either didn't die, didn't cross the finish line, or recovered. So there's still a lot of people that need to cross that finish line, guys. Everyone's already, like, they're already talking about how now it's going to go down and everything's going to be taken care of because cases are going down. They're not testing like they... Anyways, I'm not going to get... And false positive tests. Here's COVID cases, 1.347 million. Here it is, same thing, 74,782 dead. So let's go to new cases. Who's got the newest cases? United States again, and Mexico. I love Mexico. And then, Pakistan. There's Pakistan, 98 new cases. Hungary, Ghana, Afghanistan, New Zealand, Brazil, South Korea, Thailand, Lithuania. So these countries are starting to take this stuff serious. So those are the total new cases. New cases. Total new cases, obviously, we know who's in the thing. Iran and UK and Turkey in less than a week will pass China. I wonder how China found this cure. And then total deaths, U.S. Total deaths, America. No, I thought it was new deaths, total deaths. Here we go. Yeah, Italy first, Spain. Spain's getting rocked hard, man. America with 10,000. So it's Italy with 16,000, Spain with 13,000, America with 10,000, France with 8,000, UK with 5,000, Iran with 3,000, China keeps moving down that list. They keep, they even wrote a book on how they solve this world issue. Tasmania 77 says they lie with numbers, at least here in America. Everyone's lying with numbers. Tasmania, are they lying? My question is, with under-reporting, or they're over-reporting, or they're just lying about the deaths? What are they lying about? Netherlands, Belgium. See, there was 500 or more deaths. In countries like Turkey, it's going to take them a while. Turkey's busy at war. Turkey's more busy going to war, right, than they are taking care of their people. And then Pakistan's more busy testing missiles than testing their people. Some bad news from JPM. This is what happens after we pass the virus peak. We cannot rule out a possibility of global infection curves propagate second waves, shaped to similar seismic aftershocks until a vaccine is broadly available. So you're going to see this, then it's going to go back up, and it's going to go... So let's get our friend here, Automized Asteroid, here on the show to give us an update on what he wants to say about this. I think his Skype is just... There it goes. No answer. Nobody home. Then Turkey hijacked a mass delivery in Spain. Yep. I did a video, guys, today about that. If you guys want to check, it's called the Mask Wars. I go over all that stuff, all the different ventilators that have been stolen by Turkey, and if you go under videos, it's right here. The Face Mask Wars. And there it is. All the stories of stolen face masks from European nations, from China, from Africa, from all over the world, where they're stealing millions and millions and millions of masks and ventilators. So there's like a 20-minute video going over it's called Face Mask Wars. Yeah, baby. Okay, well, we'll try Adam's asteroid again. They probably disconnected him so that he can't contact us anymore. Nada. Nobody home. So Tasmania77 says, the people that own the government plan to deliberately crash the economy. Hello?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you, my brother?
Yeah, that's all right. That was weird. Skype just acted very strangely.
Yeah, they just don't want you on the show. You know that.
Of course not.
All right. So what's going on? You said you got some news from updates.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I got some updates. Yeah. Okay. Which one do you want first, the financial or the health thing?
Start with financial.
All right. Have you heard of this thing called MMT, modern monetary theory?
Yeah, I heard of it. Yeah, but this a while back.
It's very weird. Basically, from what I'm understanding, is that it no longer matters if a government is spending itself into massive debt, because what happens is the government is supposed to have sole control over the money, and you see that with Trump taking over the Fed, right? And then the government just creates money and then puts it out into the system, usually through helicopter money. So usually with a UBI or something like that. And then what happens is the money is used by people to do what they do. And then if the economy gets overheated, which would be too much inflation, you can use tax to remove the money from the system, because the government will take that money, buy taxes, and literally just drop it in the virtual shredder. And that way you have what would look like a horseshoe. The money goes out, comes around, and then gets destroyed.
Yeah.
That basically sounds like a tyrannical type of system to me. It's some kind of new age socialism.
Right.
Yeah, it is out there. It's a fully fledged out theory. It's called MMT, modern monetary theory. So I would keep an eye on that. Maybe look into it some more. You probably know more about how money works than I do. Maybe make a video on it if you can, or find someone out there that knows what they can explain from this.
Because that's a theory that's been out for a while. Actually, they've been discussing this through the form of taxation, and also they also through tariffs too. Tariffs and taxes, taxation at the borders, and levies, and all kinds of ways to pay back that debt, right? But what's scaring me, see, I don't mind them doing that if they're actually investing in the infrastructure, which they haven't in many years.
Yeah, Australia is doing that. So Australia is looking at more of because the RBA is more tied up with the government here, so they don't need to take over the Fed per se. And something interesting, a way of saying it, is that they recently doubled the New Start. If you think about it, that means they're going to half the New Start. And any political party that comes out and says we're not going to do that, we're going to keep it at the new doubling of level, is the one that's going to get all the votes. So, basically they've turned New Start or Job Seeker Allowance basically into a UBI in a way. Um, and they're doing a lot of helicopter money. So I'm thinking that all the governments around the world are basically doing this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they've been doing this because it's a cycle that's an easy cycle because you give the people what they want financially, or the governments satisfy themselves financially, whether it's starting wars or picking fights with other countries, and they just basically put this on the backs of their people. That's why in a lot of countries, a lot of people work 6 months to sorry 2 to 6 months to 7 months in what specific country you're working in, where you work for the government pretty much, because and then you're left with 5-6 months of wages for yourself. Back in the day, you'd work about a month and a half, 2 months for the government, and that would be how much you would deduct in a whole year's worth of wages. Now you're working half the year for the government, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I agree.
if you take what you get taxed on your wages, if you take what you get taxed on purchases, added value tax, you take what you get taxed on gasoline, you get what you get taxed on every friggin' thing you do, then you will see how much of the year you work for the government. There used to be an app online. It was free. It was like a website where you type in how much you made, how much you paid in gross, this, that, deductions, how much do you spend on average per food, blah, blah, blah. And it actually it would tell you and calculate a formula of how many months of the year you work for the government.
Wow. There are ways to get around that, though. If you look at, so if you optimize how many hours you work, or you optimize your income, and you optimize what you buy and how you buy it, you can reduce your tax burden quite a bit.
Well, there's ways of doing it. If you're really rich, then you could offset your capital gains with capital losses, but you need to have a way to have, well, you need to have a lot of money, so that when you have any capital gains, when you do make money, then you could offset it with a loss you have on the side, to say, well, I made that money, but I'm going to have to rub it off with this loss I have to take here with this business, right? But that business realistically is set up to take a loss, but it's also set up in a way where you don't have to pay back, but you need a lot of money to do that.
Yeah, I think there's something else I've heard called Franken credits. It's something that the boomers love here in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Any political party that threatens the Franken credits does not get voted in, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that works exactly, but it's something to do with homes.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's like this retirement scheme that they have for people that do retire and their homes get locked in, because in Australia, housing is a big part of your economy. Right? So housing makes up a big part of your GDP, right? Okay, so what's the health news you have?
So there's been a couple of doctors come out. They've been talking about what people are getting sick from exactly, and how they're getting sick. One that's interesting, his name is Cameron Kyle Siddell. I'll send you the video. Share. Need the link, and I'll send it to you now.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, what he's describing is the number of people getting sick is hyped. So the hospitals are quiet not because the sickness doesn't exist. They're hyping it up, and I think that the reason they hype it up is because they need people to believe that this is bigger than it is for some reason. And the people that are getting sick are actually, they're not having, they're not having lung failure, they're having oxygen failure. It's very similar to, for example, being in a plane at 50,000 feet and then depressurizing the chamber of the plane.
Right.
That's actually what's happening to them. Sounds very similar to this other thing that's FIVEG. That they say that 60 gigahertz is going to prevent oxygen molecules from binding to the hemoglobin in the red blood cells. Now, that sounds very similar to what would happen if you're on the top of Mount Everest.
So what's it
And
called?
what?
FIGV?
Yeah. Don't actually say it because you'll get flagged in the algorithm. It's FIVEG. You know what I'm talking about? It, the new thing that's coming out, being rolled out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't say it.
but
There's
here's
a
the
few
deal. Here's
things
the
you
deal
should
with
be.
this, with what you're talking about. Here's the deal with that. Uh, when the Spanish flu was poking around and doing its rounds, there's a lot of similarities with this respiratory illness that we're seeing with the Spanish flu, the influenza. It's just a mutated form of it. They didn't have 5G back in the day. You know what I'm saying? They didn't have. It's okay. You could say 5G. I've said 5G many times. It doesn't. It does not. I don't know. Everyone's taking everything and anything that's around
Okay.
or that's been. I don't know how to.
There is
Huh?
something that I researched that most of the pandemics that have caused respiratory problems over the last 100 years,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these coincide with the same timing as a new military technology coming out, such as the advent of radio that the military used in World War I,
Mm-hmm.
and then the FM signals for television and radio are to do with music radio,
Mm-hmm.
and then we've had like there's been various new diseases in the last few years when they bring out 3G, 4G, and so on and so forth, and now
Mm-hmm.
5G, right? So there is a coincidence there. I'm going to say it's a coincidence because, like, I don't believe it. I'm not going to hitch my wagon on one theory right now
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to think that I don't know. I don't know how to put it. It's just it seems like a bad idea to hitch your wagon 100% on one theory right now because there's way too much going on. I think a healthy dose of skepticism on a lot of the different things that are going on because there's too much. It's moving too fast, and it would be better to have some positivity um, and just take this as an opportunity to spend more time with the family, right? We're all stuck at home and we are getting paid. Most of us are getting something out of the government. So,
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to starve to death. And a lot of the governments, like this toilet paper thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's entirely possible that they're just redirecting the fabrication from toilet paper to cardboard so that they can make these survival boxes. Here in Australia, I'm hearing that they hire all these people when actually they're probably going to be shut. Well, that's so that they can redirect resources for food and stuff for people, so they don't starve to death.
Right. Right.
So I'm kind of going on a tangent here, but I think you know what I'm trying to say is that
I know what you're trying to
um,
say. I know what you're trying to
yeah,
say.
there's a lot of theories. There's a lot of theories, and we just need to be careful with them. And don't despair. Have some positivity, guys. Yeah.
So Reach is saying, I don't care how it got here right now. All that matters is getting the heck out of here.
That's a funny comment. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is like that, isn't it? We want this to end because it's been a month now, right? But it's not going to end anytime soon. I have positivity. Just don't delude yourself. This is going to go on for months.
Mm-hmm.
And if a WW3 does outbreak because of the tensions that are going on right now with the different countries, it could go on for much more than a year. So we just need to be careful here. Like, I hope that everyone has an idea of how they're going to get through this over the long haul. Because just in case it is the long haul, then you should have, I hope, have some food, have some water, and if you can get your hands on seeds, grow some food.
Heirloom seeds. You know, when you go over the 1918 Spanish influenza articles and news clippings, a lot of it completely contradicts what Wikipedia says about it.
Well, that's because Wikipedia is bought and paid for. That platform, I don't go there anymore for anything. All you can trust on there is basic scientific data. Like what's the energy density of lithium, or what happens if you drink petrol. Like, you go on there and you can get basic info, but anything to do with political information, or what happened in society, anything to do with history, no, you can't trust it.
No,
Absolutely
history is a
not.
bunch of garbage. You go into
Yeah.
languages, they say that Portuguese is like the sixth or seventh biggest language. And then I finally got into touch with somebody there because I used to work for the census You Count It in 2013, 2014. I would volunteer and I would call countries in Spanish or Portuguese and just get their numbers of population and not population, languages spoken in different regions. And when we finished and we fill in the spreadsheets and the different places that we were supposed to call in different offices and different government agencies we would enter all this stuff in the spreadsheet, and then you get like 308 million people that speak Portuguese. It says 160 million on Wikipedia, but 208 million people in Brazil stated that their first language and only language is Portuguese. But there's more people in Brazil that speak Portuguese than what Wikipedia says in the whole world. And then there's a quarter of Africa that speaks Portuguese and part of Europe and parts of all over the world. But they don't want to take that into effect because then there'll be too many European countries in the top languages.
Yes.
Yes, they can't have. So
lost.
Arabic is always going to be ahead of Portuguese with spoken languages, even though there's 100 more million people that speak Portuguese and Arabic in the world.
Yeah. It
So
sounds a bit like,
they won't allow it because it's all politics.
yeah. It's like how everywhere is getting hotter than everywhere else, kind of thing that was going on too with global warming. So you can't trust anything.
You can't trust nothing.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I've given you all the update. I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
No, that's okay. I'll let you go. Do your thing. Take care of your kid there, okay?
Yeah. That's one reason to probably hop off. It's a bit noisy, isn't it? Sorry.
It's okay. You take care. You have a good day, and happy Tuesday over there.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Thank you very much.
No, thank
Happy
you. Bye.
Monday.
Yep.
Bye.
It's my yeah. Okay. Bye. That is Atomized Asteroid. So we got some good news. We are going into Tuesday morning right now in about 30 seconds. Cha ta 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 ta. All right. So when you read these public notices, how long it went on for, where it was found, all these things, all these articles telling you how to protect yourself from influenza, cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze, avoid worry, fear, or fatigue, stay home if you have a cold, walk to your work or office. How else would you get to work in 1918? Well, you could jump on a bus or something, right? In sick rooms, wear gauze mask like an illustration. So you got to wear one of these masks if you are in a sick room. So you can't play games. This is exactly what happened. Not exactly, but 102 years ago this happened. So April 5th, 1918, 100,000 to 195,000 deaths in the U.S., 675,000 number of deaths in the U.S. attributed to the pandemic, 40% decline in shipyard productivity reported in New York City due to the flu illness in the midst of World War I. 12 years, the number of years of life expectancy in the U.S. had fallen in 1919 because of the pandemic to 36.6 years for men and 42.2 years for women. So here it is, guys. So people's life expectancy was cut. 500 million, the number of people worldwide who became infected with the virus, about 1/3 of the world's population. 50 million, the number of deaths worldwide attributed to the pandemic. 0, number of laboratory tests to diagnose and detect or characterize the flu in 1918. 2005, the year CDC researchers were able to physically reconstruct the 1918 pandemic virus and reverse the genetics found in HA and PB1 virus made from a maximum replication of the virulence. I'm actually going to save this to my desktop because this is actually a really, really good kind of little breakdown there. Shipyards, everything. Productivity went down. Yeah. All these historical articles. The Irish have taken calm. Yeah, this thing was this was terrible. Look at all these people wearing masks. All right, let's go to the comments here. Someone saying to go more Narura one, but I strongly recommend that the CBC brainwash the lefty to take 2 vaccines. Yeah, I believe that too. And Autonomous Asteroid saying immune dependent enhanced infection or something like that. Yeah. Tasmania 77, is that it will disappear as quick as it can attack 10 years later, then disappear completely? I don't know. We got Thomas Lynn in the house, and we got Tignim. I can't even get my child into the dentist. Sounds like history is repeating itself. That's exactly what it is, guys. This is exactly what we're looking at again, right? 1918 was a huge year for this. And when you go back to these numbers, okay, let's go back to these numbers. When you go back to these numbers, right? This is what we have as reported. You guys need to make sure. It's different when things are reported, and it's different. Here, let me just do it like this. I guess I opened this with Google Paint. Oh, okay. Oh, Luke Alexander calling. Hello? Hello, you there? Luke, are you there? There's no answer. Huh. There was no answer there. Yeah, Skype is acting really weird tonight, guys. Let's call him back. Hello?
Hey.
Luke,
Hey,
how you doing, buddy?
Good, how are you?
Good. Where are you calling from?
Australia.
Oh, Australia. Okay, yeah, I know. It's like afternoon because it's like midnight here where I am, so everyone's pretty much asleep. All right, so what do you have for us? What do you want to tell us, buddy?
Oh, mate, everyone's in lockdown. There's a big reformation in the world going on, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's major.
Do you think, in your opinion, that this is a prank?
I think there is aspects to it that have been inflated. I think that it's also a lot of the medical side. A lot of these organizations are really testing out how to deal with something as serious as this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's shown to not really be as bad as what it is, and there's all the cases of the people who are sick with other stuff and dying that are getting classed as dying from it. So I think it's an excuse for the big change of the the mercantile class is reshuffling the world, and it might be that there'll be a different center for commerce in the world in 50 years or 20 years or even 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're saying that this is a way for them to restart the global debt, to reset reset all the debt structure, all the bad banking that's been going on the last, 80, 90 years, that's basically taken us to the cleaners.
So it's absolving all that. So it's washing their hands of it, and they can move on, and everyone can forget about that in a few years' time because they're getting given all this money. See?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So do you? How is this psychologically? How are you dealing with this psychologically?
Personally, I went through bankruptcy about 4 years ago, mm-hmm. and it lasted for 3 years, and that was the worst, time of my life because I fought it for a year to try and avoid it, mm-hmm. and so it ended up being a total of 5 years of my life where I was demoralized, disillusioned, depressed. I started drinking too much. I've only been crawling back out of that in the last 6 months to a year. So I feel like I'm actually prepared.
Good for
I've
you.
got,
But now that you've crawled out of that, and it's almost like now all of us are in that predicament now. We're all stuck
yeah,
now.
no, so I feel for you. So I know what's coming, and I know that it's going to take years for everyone. Even if everything gets back to normal soon, it'll take years for people just to get over the shock of it and the worry that they've gone through. You know,
Did you see at the beginning of the show when I was going over those articles from the Spanish influenza?
I missed that. No,
Oh, at
yeah,
the beginning, we went over the articles from 1918, news postings and articles, and it's the exact same thing that's happening today, telling people to wear a mask, wash your hands, do this, and then there's postings all over the windows saying a congregation of more than 10 people not allowed, pool halls closed, moving picture shows closed, schools, churches, everything closed. It's exactly what's happening. If you go back to the beginning of the show later, watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's exactly like 102 years later, we're going through this same thing. Literally rewriting it completely.
you see, ironically, if I do a lot of study of like the cycles of theological and cosmical cycles and the solar cycles and all that, and one of halfway between a grand solar minimum is roughly 105 years to 107 years. So
Right?
it's like it lines up, and we're just entering into a new era now. So a lot of these crop losses can be attributed to the Earth, the climatic zones changing. So parts of Africa are becoming green, parts of Asia are becoming, they're getting longer monsoons. Like we're getting drier areas in Australia. It's all, everything's changing, and that's, people get caught off guard because they're so used to farming methods that are so rehearsed.
Right.
As soon as something changes,
They go through the motions. They go through the motions, but people are forgetting that Antarctica wasn't covered in ice at one point, right?
True.
So unfortunately, what's happened is we've got used to the way of life. We got used to these sudden shocks in life, especially these, like, not millennials, but even the younger ones than the millennials. They're going to be in for a huge rude awakening. Because none of them really, you see, back in the day, our grandparents and great-grandparents, they prepared for this kind of crap psychologically, and they prepared. If they didn't prepare psychologically for this stuff, none of us would have been born today. I don't think the younger generations are not psychologically prepared. They're frail, and they're not gonna, they can't really put themselves together for this next upcoming event horizon that's gonna happen, this big movement. So now you got, like you said, temperatures are changing all over. But let me bring something up. You said you brought up a really good one where the solar cycles and this. But let me ask you something. Do you know what we're 18 years away from?
Well, 18 years away from, oh, geez. I know it'll be the end of the grand solar minimum potentially, but 18 years away is close to when, obviously, there's the Agenda 2030 target, but that's 20 years away.
We're exactly 18 years away, almost, like, give or take a few months, to when the sun is in that elliptic, well, the sun has its own orbit. When the sun goes into that specific orbit, we are 18 years away from the little ice age that Europe's had 608 years ago.
Yep.
So
That's
in
exactly
about 18 years, we'll be back at that. So the sun will be in the same position that it was 608 years ago, roughly, and we will be in that mini ice age that Europe experienced, a drop in weather where Iceland and Greenland got completely covered in ice, and the Norsemen had to leave because they just couldn't. It just got cold. It got so cold.
And the French were complaining because the British were able to grow better wine. You know,
and the French couldn't make bread, so they had to do potatoes instead.
Yeah, exactly. all this stuff is our history. You know, our history is dealing with this climatic upheaval that happens all the time. You know, and you know, that particular time, so much happened in the world. Like you had like the 100 Years' War, which led to, you know, the overthrow of you know, the Bolshevik. You know, all these major revolutions happened from that time, and that's why I think we're coming into that. And exactly what you're saying, it's going to be potentially stronger too than that, because these cycles, they double, and so they get stronger. So you have a, you know, a 100-year cycle, and the 200-year cycle is significant. The 400-year cycle and the 600-year cycle, it's like harmonics. It's the same thing. It's the
600 one that we're concerned about.
Yeah. It's enough to cause major changes in the world.
Well, if we drop anywhere from 3 centigrade to 17 centigrade around the world, we're screwed. Yep. That's a huge drop in temperature.
If you're in the northern hemisphere, then, you know, you're going to be traveling probably.
Well, people have to move further south because they're just going to freeze.
Yep.
Right? I don't care how good infrastructurally we are, but if you're too far north, just like back when the Norsemen and Greenland and Iceland and even up to parts of Halifax, Nova Scotia in Canada, it was just too damn cold.
Yep. So, and it locks people out, and that's where it goes into all the interesting sides of history, where you know, places they might have known about areas like, for instance, you know, Canada and Alaska and that, but they couldn't get there, so they had to wait until after that mini ice age to come back there. You know,
but it lasted for almost 11 years, right? So that's enough to wipe out a lot. Let me ask you something. What if we got Al Gore's airplane, a bunch of money, gave it to Greta, and then fly it into the sun to ask the sun to stop with this because we're gonna give him all our money?
I wonder if it'd work. You know,
you never know, because of what some people believe on this earth. Oh, climate change, you're ruining the earth, Mike. You know, you're doing this, or you're driving this car. It's no good for the earth. It's like, what the heck do you know? What are the trees going to breathe if I don't drive my car?
And you know, everyone does things ethically as much as they can already. You know, all our footprints. You know, there's people who waste, but it's not the people; it's the industry. You know, it's the bigger industry that really does the damage, and that's never really talked about. For instance, your car is equal to, I think it's something like 50,000 cars equal one shipping container ship in its output. So, and then you look at how many shipping container ships are simultaneously traveling around the world, and, you know, it destroys that argument. But
it does.
At the same time, you know, if you can live in a world where we're all a little bit, you know, if we can live in a world where we're a little bit more, you know, conserving of like how much we use, that's a good thing. But it's not a good thing for the people who want to sell us stuff.
That's right.
So it's finding a middle ground there, you know.
Randall Alexander is in the comments saying the sun is causing the warming. Yes, it is. The sun moves through elliptic rotation. It has its own orbit. It does its own wobbles. The sun's been followed and tracked by the sun gods. The sun worshippers. Ancient Egypt followed the sun. Everybody, there was before the God of Abraham, people used to worship the sun, you know, and the moon, right? And trust me, the sun has its own, unless like people don't understand. Like we try to tell people, oh, you know, the climate's changing. They word it out nowadays that by saying, oh, the climate is changing. Are you going to argue me? Well, I can't, because the climate is changing. It's going to rain tomorrow. So how do you argue something that's like saying, I'm going to go put gas in my car because it runs on gas? How do you argue that when you know that's the answer to it, but they're saying it in a way that you're doing something bad? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it just adds to the guilt, which is it's you know it's just not deserved. It's because if you're consciously wasting things, then you're that's you are wasting things. But if you're using things and you're not using it to excess, then you can rationalize that within everything else and say, like, this has got nothing to do compared to the big problems. The pollution, the chemicals and the pollution and the plastic in the water, they're the big problems. The pesticides that are killing off the insects that are destroying the cycles of the ecosystems getting damaged that way. That's the problem. But you look, this massive locust plague that's going through Africa into the Mediterranean.
Yeah, it's already in parts of China. It's all over, man.
Yeah, and that's because we've had more rain in places that don't normally get these rains because of these climatic zones shifting. So what happens is you have your tropical zones compress closer to the equator.
Right.
So, going into like a 16th century type mini ice age, living on the equator will be the best thing. And you look at where all of these, the last of the old world sort of places were, like, in Cambodia and stuff like that. Angkor Wat, that was still getting built up until 100 years ago, or 200 years ago. They make out like it was abandoned for 1,000 years or whatever, but no, it was just, it was still being occupied, and it was because that was prime real estate at the time. It was still warm and fertile.
Yes. But then again, climate changes. I'm not going to argue what they're saying. Climate changes, but the question is, are we changing the climate? Right? I don't think we do enough impact. As much as a lot of people say, Mike, you're nuts. Look at all this. Look at all the production. Look at all this. Look at that. No. And I brought this up, and I'm going to bring it up on every show when we discuss climate. One good volcanic eruption, a good one, a really good one, puts enough soot, ash, all kinds of carbons in our atmosphere, ionosphere, everywhere, than we do in 100 years.
Exactly.
And people don't know that.
Right now that's happening. Like we had Kilauea, we've had some of the most volcanic. In the last 5 years, it's just been the start of this volcanic age. It's just going to get more and more.
Well, we don't have to blame the sun on a mini ice age. We could just get 2-3 really good volcanoes on Earth to erupt at the same time, put enough soot and ash to block out the sun for a long time, and we could go into a huge, massive ice age. Never mind a mini ice age. We could go into tundra ice age. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that would just drastically wipe out the population. Like people couldn't survive that.
No. No,
because that's happened before several times, and humanity's gone back to just a few tribes, and then they all find each other again, and they remember that they were all connected because the worldwide seafaring trading nations of the world, the peoples of the world have been doing this for thousands, I believe, much longer than what academia says.
Yeah. But to be very frank with you, I wholeheartedly believe, in my opinion of opinions, that I don't know. They're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. They're trying to. What's the point? Okay, so if we believe in something or some stupid narrative that they want us to believe, and then what? Like, so what? You know what I'm trying to say? So, and if we can't have an opinion or criticize something, now we're considered like bad or criminal. Or if we try to debunk something or we ask a question, and a lot of good scientists have lost their jobs. A lot of good, reputable people have got bad reputations because they went against the status quo.
And they can back up. There's a case where a professor had to take his university to court because they sanctioned him, and he won. And then the media got behind even though he won, the media couldn't handle it. So they kept attacking him for the next few weeks until he just backed off. And then they've appealed. So the university's appealing, even though they've lost the case. Now, this guy was trying to show how, because look, I want the barrier reef to, survive, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to die, but you can't blame everything on things that aren't actually causing the problem, because you're never going to be able to solve it. So that's why it doesn't work. It doesn't. It's like it's a hoodwink or a karmic trick, so that people can agree to it. It's almost like what's what's attached to the guilt of sin and stuff like that associated with religions. That use that as a method. So it's like demonizing the sanctity of the human body by saying you're breathing out carbon dioxide and you shouldn't, so it's almost like giving people a reason to accept Brave New World style euthanized controlled world. You know?
But then how are the trees going to exist? Do you know that if half the population of the world just disappeared, do you know how many hollow trees, you know how many people will go out chopping wood for trees, and they're going to be kind of hollowed out and dying out because they're not getting enough of the enough of our
what they breathe. So it's this shared thing. There would be it's like a carbon sink.
Not only that, a lot of people don't know that even today we have more trees on Earth than we did 100 years ago.
There you
go. You can look it up. It's actually true. We have more trees on the planet today than we did 100 years ago. And people they're like, what are you talking about? And then they really look into it and finding papers and they're like, whoa, yeah. I didn't know we had that many trees on Earth. Why is everyone so freaking out? Because they want you to freak out.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like the Amazon, the Amazon, like if you look at the number of and the distribution of man-made structures, it's across the entire South America. A lot of that Amazon basin or whatever, it is potentially was once savanna while humans were there, and it became a rainforest quite quickly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the force takes it back. Like, okay, when the Portuguese went to Brazil in 1502 or 1501, when the Portuguese went to Brazil and they colonized it and worked with the natives and expanded and built cities and stuff, the reason why the Portuguese were successful is because they worked with the natives and worked together to build Sao Paulo, Brasilia, all these cities, right? But the French tried to do it on their own and go in to French Guiana and start to take it over by smoke and guns, but they could never do it because the jungle kept taking it back, and not only because the jungle kept taking it back, they couldn't win against the natives. So if they're going, you see what I'm saying? The jungle always takes things back, whether it's the native ancestors or the natives that are of Aboriginal tribes of that land that know the way of the land, that could teach the way of the land to others. Right? The French failed horribly in South America because they just refused to get along with the locals there.
They didn't want to cooperate. They didn't want to, allow them to become part of their project.
That's exactly. And they thought they could just chop trees down and build. And you know what the French got away with in French and South America? The only thing they got away with was a prison.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Send all their dissidents. I saw a bit on that, and it was hard labor. A lot of these people. Yeah.
That's all they got away with.
If you're a political dissident, you got sent to the
some French labor camp in South. That's all they could get done. They couldn't build a town. They couldn't get in, the rainforest just kept taking it back regardless.
It's almost like it's like pushing against something. It's trying to swim upstream. It's such a difficult thing. The only way you can do it is to rest in the shallows and wait and pick your time and go with the current. even though you're going upstream.
Mm-hmm.
So people make mistakes like this all the time. They don't do it for the right reasons, and so your end result's never going to work out.
No.
You know,
No, it never is. It's because I think it could be like the demonic path that some people take. I don't know how these people are motivated to ruin or destroy others' lives, and to get an end game of what? We all die. We all return to the land. We all return to dirt.
yeah, it's funny that it's like I mean, there is certainly a like a psychopathic or narcissistic aspect of that kleptomatic kleptocracy and tyranny, where they become possessed, I guess, in a way, um, and those that want power and want to and not necessarily own everything, but want to be able to be, the best entrepreneur in the world or whatever. They can only get there and be respected if they work very, very hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so they still exist, but they don't put themselves out there that much because they then become a target.
Yeah.
Because all of their competitors just want to destroy them anyway. So,
well, if you want to commit suicide, the safest way to do it is by finding a cure for cancer.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. You find a cure for cancer, you're dead. It will be a suicide with 2 gunshot wounds to your back.
And it's the same with technology, as like if you make a gasoline car run for like 500 miles a gallon, and they don't want you there either.
Nope. Like that guy that invented that back in the late 80s, where he invented he kept the carbon, the motor, the way it was set up by GM and Ford, but what he'd do is he create a spark plug which will burn the fumes of the gas instead of the gas itself. Yeah. And that spark plug will ignite and produce even more power than the actual physical gasoline going in. So an entire tank of gas fumes to be absorbed as fumes could last about 8,000 miles, right?
That's amazing, yeah.
But he ended up disappearing.
Just burning the nitrogen in the air.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But he ended up disappearing.
Yeah.
The guy that invented that. And it was very simple. He got a few hoses, updated a spark plug in his garage on a vise, put the spark plugs in the vise, added some more coil at the end to give him a bit more spark, and did his own thing, and then he ended up disappearing.
Yeah, and see that just is done on purpose as a message to other people to say, don't try this. When when Rockefeller was starting Standard Oil, the story is that he threatened all the scientists to come up with the name fossil fuels, because he make people think that they run out.
Yes, they set it up in a way where people think that it's a limited amount, but I think the Earth's producing more oil than what we need. The Earth itself is producing more oil than what we could use.
Through the vulcanization, it's the alchemy of the planet.
That's right.
So it's when rocks melt and the oil and steam from the plants that gets washed down into the cracks.
Oh, we have tons of oil. We have enough oil to go for the next billion years if we had to.
And here's another theory. If we weren't extracting it, they then become dangerous things under the earth. Like, could you imagine the explosion of like these massive oil fields if like under the crust exploded? But if we're removing it, well, maybe we're alleviating. It's like squeezing pimples,
Exactly. Let me add to that. Watch this. I have a friend of mine who lived in Saudi Arabia. He told me, go with a Jeep, go out to the desert, 10 miles outside of a city, any city in Saudi Arabia, walk out from the main road 10 feet into the desert, start digging with a shovel, and you'll hit oil.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
It's
because like you said, we need to alleviate the world. If we don't take that oil out of the ground, let's just say hypothetically, then it will start seeping into basically I'm trying basins of oil would exist instead of freshwater lakes.
and then they become, uninhabitable for plants and animals.
Exactly.
See, at the same time, like we both want to live in a world that's full of, prosperity and free of pollution to as much as we can, to as greater extent as possible. So all humans can sort of agree on that, like we want fresh food. We don't want to be poisoned from just everyday things, Um, but we don't want to be preached to and told that we're the problem, because no one's like, this is the thing. You don't see, you don't see Greta turn around and talk to Google and say, well, how much power are your computers using? You don't see her saying to, the military and saying, do you really need all these tanks and stuff?
And she doesn't talk about how she gets on a plane and basically says, oh, we're burning fuel here, but I got to get to where I got to go. Everyone else could go to hell.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it doesn't flip that way. It doesn't work that way. But, yeah, they're trying to use us as, like, we're the problem, but we're not. If anything, yeah, there's a lot more going on, and there's so many more underlying things that are happening. And it's kind of scary, John is saying they took our rights away and that we ain't getting them back. We will get our rights back. Just like the articles I was reading at the beginning of the show. They shut down movie halls, libraries, churches, all congregate. This was in 1918. They shut everything down. They told people to wear masks. They told people to wash their hands. Shipping and all that stuff went down 40%. Everything went down. The entire economy was shut down. We read all the articles from New Jersey, from New York, even from parts of Canada, where basically everything is basically shut down until further notice. So we went through this, and we're going through it. It looked like you get charged. You could get fined for spitting.
Yeah,
I'm just reading a sign here.
Yeah, it's funny, like how quickly and how I think it's actually almost hilarious. It's like Mars attacks type thing,
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to, if you thought of someone goes back in 100 years' time and says, "Oh, guess how we took over the world?" Yeah, we got everyone to think they had a bad flu going around and told them to go stay home, and while they were at home,
we installed 5G all over the world.
And we did a coup on the banks, and we changed everything and all this sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Rewrote wiped out all the middle class, so like when the Fed Reserve happened, like there's all these times in history where, the new money gets wiped out and some of the old money gets wiped out. And it's the people who are acting together get away with making the profit off it all.
Mm-hmm.
So I think some of that's happening now. I think it's like the GFC, like we had the swine flu around the GFC, which sort of like, gave an easy excuse. This is like a perfect excuse. They don't have to explain to people that this is like ushering in the new world. Like if you look at the other major reformations, most of the time they're not peaceful. Like you look at the French Revolution or the Bolshevik, there was a lot of deaths.
Spanish Revolution, all kinds. There's all kinds.
And this is like you could look at it like a one without many deaths, because if people just want to get back to work, we can, but we have to agree to whatever new rules they bring in.
Mm-hmm. Well, who said we have to agree? Humans are resilient. We always find a way around. We're like water. You can't hold water forever. We're just like water. You're not going to hold us forever.
No, that's true.
And there's nothing they could do to affect us that won't end up harming their chain. Whether it's their food chain, whether it's their, you know what I'm trying to say? There is, you know what I'm saying? So whatever they think they could do to us in grand scale will end up affecting them a lot worse in the end.
It always backfires. So, you know, it's like that's what we're up against. People who are literally wielding black magic. You know, they're trying every trick that they can use to manipulate, and it's just it can work on some scales, but it can never work with the big stuff because goodness will always triumph over that. You know.
Yeah. There's always be a way around things. There would always, and then you know what? There might be like a political party that wants to get in power and say, hey, we could knock these guys right out if they don't rig the elections. The next party that comes in will just say we'll give everybody their freedoms back and we'll get voted in. So it takes a couple of rounds, but things end up working out to the best. You know what I'm saying? In the end.
Yeah. It's a bit rough at first, and then it settles, and then everyone gets back to it. You know.
Mm-hmm. All right, Luke, I'm gonna let you go. We've been talking for like 30 minutes, dude. Woo!
The chat, Mike. I've been meaning to call in for ages.
I know you have. I saw you on Skype sending me messages over time. But see if you could come on Mike in the Night. Whenever. Just come. When you see me, just come on the show.
For sure.
All right, Luke, thanks so much. God bless you.
Cheers, mate. Likewise.
Bye.
Yeah.
So that is my man Luke from Australia calling in to give us some good information. We had the mini ice age, we had the big ice age, we had the big ice age was, that's when it wiped. That's why you have pyramids on the water. I know, if you're just tuning into this and you're like wondering, what the hell is Mike talking about? No, there's a lot of pyramids on the water. There's entire cities off the coast of Japan that are underwater. That was the previous massive ice age we had that wiped out a majority of civilization. Do you know how many cities are underwater off the coast of Portugal? Like 78 to 85 miles towards the Azores? Yeah, we'll get into some of that stuff on another show. Someone's saying that the poop has hit the fan in Ontario. Let's move over there now. See what's going on here. So here are the cases for COVID. Zero Hedge. Boris Johnson will be placed on a ventilator. China's fake news, its superior system defeats COVID-19. Yeah, they're writing a book about it. I even did a whole video about the whole God bless China. China, thank you for saving China saved the world and they saved Christmas. Austria becomes the first European state to start reopening its economy. The U.S. consumers slide into depression. They have never been more bullish on stocks. Whitehead. Civil liberty attacks in the age of COVID-19 threaten to expose the American police state. Pelosi tells Democrats next stimulus to be at least $1 trillion as Goldman predicts explosion in U.S. debt. Argentina defaults for record 9th time. Argentina's in a lot of they're just issuing. They're falling apart economically. They're done. Argentina. COVID-19 has lit the fuse on China's economic debt time bomb. So they had China and stimulus and all that deleveraging, releveraging, and repackaging bad loans, and telling banks are being ordered to tell customers to basically keep paying bad loans down and stuff, or just don't worry, make a payment when you can. That's not going to work. New Zealand's PM adds the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy to the list of essential workers. What? I say to the children of New Zealand, if the Easter Bunny doesn't make it to your household, we have to understand that it's a bit difficult at the moment for the bunny to perhaps get everywhere. Okay, I see what she means. But what about leprechauns and fairies and goblins? Horrifying global surge in domestic violence amid COVID-19 lockdown. Yeah. How the left is trying to blame capitalism for COVID. The left will blame whatever they have to blame. We contacted his doctors. Trump says U.S. drug firms in UK scrambling for COVID-19 cure after British PM Johnson sent to ICU. At long last, China reports 0 new COVID deaths for the first time as outbreak continues to subside. I don't know, man. Did China do it? What is China not telling us? Don't politicalize the matter. India allows export of drugs linked to COVID-19 treatment to badly hit countries amid row with the U.S. UK government says Boris Johnson was fine. Can we trust him on COVID-19? Death in the slum. India holds its breath as coronavirus spreads to tightly packed shanty town. There may be a retaliation, Trump says, in India may face U.S. wrath if PM Modi fails to overturn export ban on COVID-19 treatment. Let's move over to state-run media, Press TV. No difference from Canadian state-run media anyway. Rouhani-friendly countries must pressure U.S. to lift Iran sanctions. I don't know why they have to work something out. These guys, it's been too long. New York considers mass grave in park for COVID-19 victims. Whoa. Wow. Really? It's that bad? I know it's bad in New York, but they're considering a mass grave in a park. A mass grave for victims. Trump may step in. Whoa. We got the news for you. New aircraft carrier outside takes new turn, prompting president to hint at getting involved. What else we got? Stock gains at least. COVID optimism. Oil rises 3%. Los Angeles braces for more COVID deaths. Asks residents to stay home. CNN's Cooper blasts Trump for trying to hide his deadly dismissal on virus.
Well, since Sunday, the Prime Minister's been under the medical care of the team at St Thomas's Hospital after he was admitted with persistent coronavirus symptoms. And during the course of this afternoon, the Prime Minister's condition worsened, and on the advice of the medical team, he was moved in to a critical care unit. So in light of those circumstances, the Prime Minister asked me as First Secretary to deputise for him where necessary in driving forward the government's plans to defeat coronavirus. And as you'll know, he's been receiving excellent care at St Thomas's Hospital, and we'd like to take this opportunity as a government to thank NHS staff up and down the country for all of their dedication, hard work and commitment in treating everyone who's been affected by this awful virus.
Mm-hmm.
With the Prime Minister now in intensive care, this is obviously an extremely serious situation. I mean, how worried should people be about his health and about who's in charge of the government?
Well, the government's business will continue, and the Prime Minister is in safe hands with a brilliant team at St Thomas's Hospital, and the focus of the government will continue to be on making sure at the Prime Minister's direction all the plans for making sure that we can defeat coronavirus and pull the country through this challenge will be taken forward.
Are you confident, though, that the government is under control tonight?
There's an incredibly strong team spirit behind the Prime Minister and making sure that we get all of the plans that the Prime Minister has instructed us to deliver to get them implemented as soon as possible. And that's the way we'll bring the whole country through the coronavirus challenge that we face right now.
So there it is. Are social disorders fears behind U.S. guns sales spike? So there's a lot of people buying guns in the U.S. An invisible wound for health workers and soldiers. Why a drug to treat malaria is selling out around the world. What else? Africa will not be a test ground for the vaccine, says the World Health Organization. This is from the BBC. That's it there. So we got the numbers here. So someone said something's happening in Ontario. The problem is, every time I look up the stuff, I always get the Canadian state-run media. Oops, I meant Toronto. There's nothing recent. Everything was 6 hours ago. Covey, City of Toronto receives 141 complaints about gatherings and unsafe gatherings. 15 deaths, 135 Covey cases in Toronto long-term care homes. What's going to happen, guys, is this will make its rounds. People are thinking, oh, it's already dissipated in China, so in Canada, things will get better real soon. No, you're months away from where China. So you're looking at this started screwing around in China second week of November. Then they try to kind of lie about it through Christmas. Then they got everybody on planes just before the new year of the duck or the year of the rat or whatever it is. And then the Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year. So what they did was they got everybody on planes that had cash all over the Commonwealth to get out. Then last week of December, they started announcing major issues. They're going to put a city on lockdown. First week of January, they're closing down cities in China and they're closing off borders. And yeah. Coley is saying, Kolke is saying, to be honest, I wouldn't doubt if China did this whole crap intentionally. I can recall Orientals on the public transit system causally. Okay, the regular occurrence. People not being they're not sanitized is what he's trying to say. I got my sanitizer with me. I wiped down my mic. I always take care of business. I don't go out. I've been stuck here for a while now, and I went out today just to check over at the store, and I came home. Right? Yeah, we talked about the Queen's speech yesterday, and then Toby Cooper says he loves China. I know you love China, Toby Cooper. I'm gonna put that up there for you guys here. All right, let's put up I love China. All right, fine. I'll put up I love China for you guys, just for you guys.
I love China. I love China.
Where's that other one? There was the other one here.
Mexico.
I love that one too.
The Mexican government.
Craig Cook saying, woo! Give us, woo! It's hard to woo, guys, nowadays when things are, like, you know, we used to woo when things would happen in the markets and, you know, when some elite status got exposed for something and then the elite person has to apologize for getting caught. Nobody apologizes for what they did. They just apologize for getting caught.
China. I love China.
Yeah. Thanks, China. Drop us a bug anytime. Yeah, no, Philippine president threatens to shoot basically people, dissidents that are going against the virus. All the guns that were given to the police or the task force or security and police and hired security by the government and there's no rounds there's no rounds. There's no rounds. There's no bullets. They were given without bullets. So don't worry, guys. It's not, you know.
What I say is what I say.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, guys, I'm getting tired. What time is it? Oh, it's 1 o'clock. Well, I'm going to head off to bed, guys. I just did this quick video for you guys. If you're just joining us, go back to the beginning of the video. It's actually pretty good. We go over a lot of 1918 news or what's happened and news from 1918 that basically is happening exactly today. Guys, if you want to set your reminder for Mike in the Night this Saturday and set your reminder for Trends in the Housing Market, we talk about housing, economy, job losses, what's happening right now. Call in and tell us what your problems are or what's going on. Also, you could also support me here on Patreon. If you want to donate $1 a month to this transmission, it really helps out a lot, guys. It really does. You could also buy a mug or a Mike in the Night stuff. And also, you could message me here on Facebook. And you could also message me here. I'll give you my Instagram. If you guys want to send me any show tips, please send me show tips there or my Facebook. Or you could also send me a tip on PayPal if you have some spare change. Go ahead and do that. It's all good. Let's play the Mike in the Night song one last time.
Gemini King, Mike in the Night, and the Gemini crew.
Ooh!
Ooh. Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Let's just talk about the world, give this page another turn, 'cause you're here with us tonight. Everything's alright when you're here with Mike in the night. Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Giving the world light when you're here with Mike in the night. Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Sometimes things are just absurd, so let's just talk about the world, 'cause you're here with us tonight. Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Mike into the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Let's just talk about the world, give this page another curl, 'cause you're here with us tonight.
Remember, guys, stay safe, and if you can't, be careful. Thanks for watching.